Hey folks, hope you're doing good. Now I've got 3 bands for you today. Super duper nice bands. I've checked these bands out already. Couldn't help myself. The music's just too good. But these bands, they're totally different in terms of the genre. We've got an indie band. We've got a DSBM band. We've got a guy doing like electronic screamo type stuff. And you might think, well, there's no way all that's going to go together, but they are. They're going to go together because they've all got a vibe to them. And the vibe that they've got is kind of that slow, drawn out, melancholic, sad, depressive vibe. Kind of stuff that you put on when you just want a moment to yourself and, you know, indulge in your own thoughts and have a bit of a kind of weep or whatever. But this is the right music for that vibe. This is the kind of music that I like to make. This is the stuff that comes out of me. I'm a one-man DSBM band as well, along with Wisphaven and stuff like that. So if you're in this kind of headspace, or if you like this kind of music, these 3 bands I'm telling you now are super great. This first band is called New Ghost. They got a track for us called Your Reds. I've already listened to it a bunch of times. Let's enjoy it together. Drums sound great, ping pong across your ears with the toms, great guitar tones. Nice low end of the bass, vocals just great. Well recorded vocal, nice layering, some background vocal from some dude, sounds like. Very nice. There's loads of layers of sound, double vocals, some synths in there. We've got the guitars, we've got the bass, nice raw drums, cymbals sound great as well. Superb mix. Wide, it's deep, it's layered, it's got a great vibe to it. Give me tingles up the spine, that's how good it is. Yeah. Sounds great, feels great. I just love this kind of music. Love the drums. Snare's got a great pop to it. Cool video as well. great. More tingles up the spine. These guys know how to do it right. Yes! That is superb. Never heard of this band before. I think I found them on Facebook, just knocking about. I think they might be from the UK, but I'm not too sure about that. But I love this band straight away. That is a great sound all round. Guitars sound great, drums sound really great. The vocals sound really great. You can hear the bass nicely in there. There's some synth work in there to make it even wider and deeper and more layered and more atmospheric. It's just got all of those things going for it. A great, sad, melancholic vibe. Gives you shivers up the spine when they get into their crescendos. I've been having a lot of that this week. We've had some superb bands this week. I tell you, it's one of the best weeks we're having. Now, we know this next guy, or at least I do pretty well. Wisphaven, one-man band, DSBM, black, suicidal black metal. Hopefully that's just the vibe and not what he actually ends up doing. But let me just check this comments, because I made some comments to him, because I already listened to this one as well. And I said to him that the vocal in this one is particularly buried. This guy likes to bury his vocal in the mix with a lot of reverb and delay and all of that kind of stuff. But on this one, he buried it so deep. I said, this vocal's so buried, it came out in Australia. That's me trying to be funny. But what he did say, which I thought was pretty cool to say, he said the album is about people's consciousness. Each song will be a different person's conscious, pestering them about things that they've done. The vocal being buried so much gives the effect of your deep inner voice. It's there, but almost not at the same time. Very, very cool. That's what this music's all about. So we're going to check it out, this track. It's a nice one, I know that already, so let's check it out. Should go nicely with the last one. Now, if reverb had never been invented, this band wouldn't exist, nor would my own, because reverb is a big part of this music. It's the way that you bury the guitars, it's the way that you bury the vocal, it's the way that you bury the drums, it's the way that you give it atmosphere, it's the way you widen it out. A lot of reverb in this kind of music. Different uses of reverb to get the different layers and the different levels. All takes a lot of work in the mix to make it actually sound like this. Very cool. Let's listen. Once you've read what he's saying there about, you know, the vocal and the people's consciousness and the voice in your head and it being distant and all that, it just makes it even cooler. You get the whole vibe of the song even more. Makes more sense. Nice amount of bass in this track. I made a comment before about his music not being super bassy. Not that it needed to be, but it was just an observation. But this one is more bassy. This is going on a new album as far as I'm aware. It's a new song. And the reason I mentioned it before is because with all this reverb tends to add a lot of highs to your mix. The echo and everything. And adding some bass to balance out that kind of high end is a good idea, and he's done it nicely in this mix. Nice synth tones as well. A bit less buried in the mix. Nice sound. Guitars sound cool. They're fuzzed out, washed out. We've got the reverb on them to push them back in the mix, but they still sound kind of more forward than the other parts. It's interesting. This is almost like 3D music because you've got the different layers. You had the kind of synth more up front, and the guitars are a bit behind that, and then the drums are a bit behind that, and then the vocals a bit behind that, but again the vocals a bit higher than all of that. So you've got this whole 3D stereo spectrum, and if you look at the stereo spectrum at the bottom right, if you imagine that as a kind of 3D stereo spectrum where it can go up and down as well as in and out, that's what he's doing with this sound, which is very cool. I said it in the last video, it might sound like this music's kind of pretty lo-fi and just a bit dirty, but there's actually a lot of mixing techniques that go into getting your music to sound like this, because it just doesn't happen. You know, you've got to add layers and layers of reverb, you've got to EQ stuff, you've got to add delays, you've got to mess with the volumes, and all of these things to get it to sit like this in the mix. As you can still see, it's nice and loud. There's no problems with the volume, so even though it sounds buried, it's actually still nice and loud. It's not just that it's quiet and that's what makes it buried, it's actually buried within the spectrum of the sound, within the spectrum of the wave. Very, very cool. Good job. Nice track. The only thing I'm going to say, kind of, as not as a constructive criticism, but just as a kind of something to mention, other than, yeah, it's great and super and all of that stuff, is it did kind of feel to me, and it is quite a long track, nearly 6 minutes. In a 6-minute track, if you're going over 5 minutes in a track, I really, for my own personal taste, I want to see a couple of gear changes within the music just to keep it fresh, just to keep me interested in the vibe. And I like this track very much. I've listened to it a few times. It's good, but it's more of a track that you put on in the background whilst you're doing other things than really focus all your attention on and listen to the track from start to finish. And I don't want to just say it's background noise, because that's totally wrong, but it's more of one of those things that, you know, in my case with this music, I'll put this music on while I'm cruising the net at night, and I'm not kind of sat there just listening to the music. I'm doing other things as well, but it just creates a great background noise and sound for a late night cruise. That's what I look at it. But if I was to be listening to the music and I was sat there concentrating on the music like I do in these videos and listening to all the ins and outs in a nearly 6-minute track, to keep my attention and my own personal preference, I just like to see a few gear changes on the drums, a few tempo changes, a few kind of groove changes or energy changes within the track, more of a build up and a crescendo or something like that, just to keep it a bit more fresh. And this one is a bit kind of at the same gear for most of the track. That's my only kind of little thing that I'm going to say about that. I still love this guy. He's a great artist, one-man band. I'm not sure how old he is, but he's doing a great job playing his instruments and in the mix as well. Because as I've said to you, mixes don't just end up sounding like that with a couple of EQ tweaks and the volume. That's layers and layers of effects and effects and effects and effects and effects to get it sound like that. You got to do a lot. Anyway, gone on enough about that. This is a band. No, this is a one-man band, I think. But I could be wrong about that. But it's a guy who's been posting about, and he's kind of getting into the channel. He's pretty new, fresh on board, but he's loving it already by the looks of things. And I've brought this track forward to put it with these other tracks because, again, it's got this vibe. It's got this melancholic vibe. This guy's a bit more screamo and angry, but again, it's sad anger. And there's a sadness to all of today's bands and all of today's music. So it goes with them. Now, it's a totally different sound. This is more electro-driven. But we're going to check it out. I've checked it out a few times already. I like it very much. So let's enjoy it together. This is And He Never Came Back. And the track is Thought I Was. So let's hear it. Yeah, great bass synth sound. It's got an atmosphere to it, it's got a vibe to it. It's got a, like that undercurrent, undertow vibe. Nice drum sounds as well. Vocals, got a nice amount of distortion on it. They sit in the mix nicely because of that. It's angry. Sad anger. It goes nicely as a juxtaposition of the washiness of and the chilled out vibe of the music. Dope. I like this a lot. I've had this one stuck in my head. I've been walking around the house going dong 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 dong, because that bass line just sounds great. It's got a vibe. And I think all these bands, even though they're totally different genres, they go together nicely. Again, it's a nice mix, everything's mixed well, sits well, the vocals sits there nicely. The bass sits in the mix nicely, the drums have got a good sound to them, they've got a good wash to them and reverb. The vocal adds a lot of energy to the music. Sorry about that, guys. I'm not sure if this is the dude. Great vid. Dope. Said it before, guys. If you need any help, reach out for it. It's always the best decision. Now that was a cool ass video. Even though it's dealing with those heavy topics, very well made. I enjoyed that a lot. Goes with the music, you know. If you're into this kind of music, chances are you've had some dark thoughts at some time in your life. I know I have, and because you almost need to be able to make this music from the heart. I've spoke about it before. I wrote a DSPM album when I was feeling pretty rough, not great physically, not great mentally, and the music just flowed out of me, and it's still one of my favorite records that I've ever written. Not because of the, it reminds me of the bad times, but because it's pure emotion, it's pure feeling, and just, it just flowed out of me because I was feeling so emotional at the time, and the emotion went through me into the guitar, into the music, and left me with some pieces of music that really matter to me. It's something that matters to me a lot, and I'm pretty sure that's the same for all of these artists today as well, because when you're making this kind of music, you're making it for a reason. You're making it to release it off your chest. You're making it because this vibe connects with you for whatever reason, either because you're going through something bad at the moment or because you've been through something bad in the past. And this is just a way of kind of you helping to deal with those moments. Maybe this music helped you get through that bad time in the past, and just putting it on kind of bolsters that feeling of, we've got through this. It's still, it's always an uphill battle with these kind of things. But I love this music because it connects with me, it vibes with me big time. And I think all the three bands today, even though they've come from different genres, and you wouldn't see them on the same lineup at a gig, they definitely all go together because they've got that vibe as well. These guys have all got their stories to tell, and their emotion to put into their music, and they've done it very, very nicely. I enjoy this music. I've enjoyed all these bands, what I remember, and I'm still waffling on. I'll give the vid a superb. I think that's every single day this week we've had a superb vid, because every single day and every single band we've had on this week have been superb. We've just had a great week, this one. Non-stop. Anyway, we've got something for you tomorrow. What have we got for you tomorrow? We've got death for you tomorrow, some modern death as well. And then we've got punk on Sunday. So I hope you're enjoying the week as much as I am. I've had an absolute blast. I'm an instant fan of every single band we've had on this week. Just super, super great. And some of them were like deep Facebook finds that, you wouldn't have just found otherwise. So I'm real pleased to have found out about them. Anyway, gone on enough yabbering on. How long we gone on for? 24 minutes. Yeah, sorry about that, guys. Hope you've got to the end of the vid. Like and subscribe and all that if you would. Community's growing well. We've just hit over 1,000 on Facebook, and we're heading towards 600 on here. So if you're on one or the other, go and follow me and like me and subscribe me and all that crap so we can get a good community going. And every time these bands are on the channel, they get tons of people watching them and checking them out and loving their music because they deserve it. Anyway, see you around, guys. Bye.